we're going to create a subsite. This one is also pretty quick, so we'll go through this pretty fast. We're going to, in the upper right corner, there's a little gear icon next to your name. We're going to click that gear icon. We're going to scroll to the, we're going to choose site contents, not site settings. We're going to choose site contents. And then we're going to scroll to the bottom of the page. It's actually sort of the middle of the page, and we're going to click new subsite under the subsite header. We're going to give it a name and a description. We're also going to give it a URL, and you'll see that where it's asking for a URL, and we want to make that as short as possible. And here's one of those best practices things we're talking. We want to make it as short as possible because in SharePoint everything has a URL, so everything gets a URL, so it gets tagged on. So the deeper things are in your site, the longer the URL, and if URLs become 200 or 300 characters long, they become a problem sometimes. So we want to keep our URLs as short as we can. So we don't want to nest things too far if we don't have to, and we'll talk about that more further later on. But we definitely want to keep our URLs as short as possible. And then there's some permissions and navigation settings that they're going to ask if we want to we want to inherit permissions from the site above it, or if we want to keep the top navigation bar the same. You click create, and a new site will be created, and it'll take you directly to your new site. And let's do a quick demo of that. So here, and this works from any page because you'll see this gear icon on any page that you're on. So you can do this from any page. You don't have to be on the root of the site. So if you click the little gear icon and you click site contents, and here, right here in the middle of the screen, and I said bottom because it's the bottom of what shows here. But if you have some more sites, the new subsites will line up down here, so it'll actually be in the middle. So we'll click new subsite, and here you give it a name, and at this point you can give it any name you want, whatever is descriptive. You can give it a description if you want. It's not necessary, and I'd say probably 85 to 90% of the time I don't give it a description. The only time I do, I think, is when there are several sites that are of a similar name, and I want a description to be displayed to differentiate the different ones. And here is where your URL will be. So as you can see, it just stacks onto it. So this is everyone in Kaiser has this one, and then this is the COSO site, and this is your BAM site, and then everything after that that's in your subsite, any lists, libraries, documents, all of their URLs and their names and page titles will be tacked onto the end. So that's why you want to keep this name as short as possible. And as always with the URL, there can be no spaces. I also tend to keep it all lowercase. It's not absolutely necessary, but just for the sake of consistency, I do keep it all lowercase. So we're going to give this site a name of test. You generally don't have to worry about this because project site and team site, they're very similar. You can do just about anything with either of these sites. The project site will give you some more project related things, like it'll give you a to-do list with a timeline and those types of things that'll put right there on the front page. 90% of the sites that I build are team sites because I can always, if I want to add a to-do list, or if you want to add a to-do list or a timeline, you can also do that there. So usually I keep it at team site unless there's a very specific need. And this is where we're talking about the permissions. If you want to inherit the same permissions as the parent site that you're coming from, which is the site right above here, if you want to inherit the same permissions as this site, then you would leave it here. If you want to give this site unique permissions, like only a specific group of people, then you would change it here, and then once we hit create, it would take you to another screen that allows you to put those permissions and those people in there. But for this example, we're just going to leave it at the same as the parent. Now this one, if you want to have a a very custom top level navigation. Right now, there aren't anything in it. There isn't anything in the top level navigation. But if you want this site to have a different navigation than your top level, then you would say no here. Normally, you want your site all in the site collection to be consistent with your top level navigation. So oftentimes this will be a yes. But in the case of if there's like a specific project or something like that, if you want to use a different top level, then you would say no here. For this example, I'm going to say yes, but it doesn't really matter because there aren't any sites there. And then the only thing left to do is to hit create, and this will take a moment. You'll see the little spinning dial here. Working on it. It shouldn't take long. It shouldn't, but sometimes it does. And it's coming. It's coming. While we're waiting on this, are there any questions so far? Look, here it comes. And here's your new subsite. So if we were to go back to the site that we were go back to the main site, and if we go back to site settings or site content and look again at the subsite area, we see that our test site is actually here. So this is where all your test sites will be. So you can leave them here and send out the link to them directly, or you can add them into the navigation wherever you like. And to get there are a couple of ways to get the site link. You can right click and then copy shortcut, and that'll put the shortcut the link in your clipboard, and you can paste it wherever you want, or you can go to the site and then grab it out of the address bar at the top. So our next